Hello, everyone. I'm George from Ireland. So this video is about one of my bugbears, and that is Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex, commonly called Meghan Markle. So I always give her her introduction like that, her handle, because I am a royalist, and I think I should do so, even though I don't respect the individual. I still tug the forelock to the title. Um, Anyway, MM moved to Los Angeles, as you may recall, almost a year ago. She and her beau to escape the media, right? Because there's no media in Los Angeles, by the way. I mean, Tinseltown's got not a single journalist there. It's not as though a British journalist could go there. Nobody's heard of a plane, for example. Anyway, the golden couple, they treasure their privacy above all else. They guard it jealously, which is why they're actually engaged in a court battle in London over privacy as we speak. A court battle would actually might have them having to make a court appearance, which is not private. There's open justice, and managed to keep the names of her friends secret in that court battle. She won that bit of the court case, lost other bits. But obviously that goes against open justice because the defendant in this case surely has the right to see that challenge the evidence against him to cross-examine witnesses, but they're not to be identified. But that's by the by. So yeah, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, as I say, they clearly cherish their privacy. They're virtual recluses, wouldn't you say? I mean, Los Angeles is not known for any famous people, is it? They can live out their lives in complete obscurity. Well, how do these two try to maintain their privacy? By public appearances, by broadcasting, airing their views, by constant Twitter publications, by publishing their private correspondence, except they complain when other people do it, by trying to sell their home videos to television channels. So this gruesome twosome have a schizoid attitude to privacy. Um, and that's right, Meghan married a prince so that she could be anonymous. She was the most Googled person in 2019. Nothing to do with her choices. No, just leave me alone. Wow. She didn't ever pose for photos. She didn't want people to know about her, to look at her. She wasn't trying to be the cynosure of all eyes. She didn't want to be the belle of the ball or anything like that. She never used to collude with the paparazzi and phone them up before she was dating Prince Harry, or maybe even while she's dating Prince Harry, to say, I'm going to be here, please snap my photo here and there. Right, so she always wanted people to simply leave her alone, which is why she went into acting, which is why she tried to marry the most famous bachelor in the world in 2018. Yeah, right. Anyway, so she's an egomaniac. She craves publicity. She wants to be the center of attention constantly. So she's done lots of eye-catching things a bit of a no-no, breaches of royal protocol, holding hands in public, opening the car door. I think opening the car door is a real minnow of a thing. I think she shouldn't be judged harshly for that peccadillo. So she's trying to sell her image, and they command huge fees for their appearances. They want to do some Netflix documentary. So don't tell me that they want people to ignore them. He who lives by publicity shall die by publicity. You can't invite the media into your life and then tell them to get out of it. All right? They're not going to get out of it unless they want to. And you keep deliberately making the news. You keep going to charity events, bringing your own photographer, or doing these well-trailed public appearances. So you want to be royalty or you don't want to be royalty. You could just be celebrity, in which case renounce the royal titles, because they are still members of the British royal family. They're not senior royals, they're not working royals, but they are members of the royal family. Otherwise, don't call yourself Duke and Duchess. I know they've agreed not to use the handle His Royal Highness and Her Royal Highness. They still have it, they're just not using it. Anyway, so her attitude has never been, don't notice me, I'm one of the crowd. Okay? Well, sometimes it's like it's the Streisand effect. By fighting so vigorously for her privacy, it's like she's inviting us to peer even more intently at it. So if they really want privacy, shut up. All right? Stay at home as much as possible. And don't go to public events, to red carpet events with celebrities. No media appearances, no more publications. So put a sock in it. So, I mean, they're always trying to have it both ways. No more preachments on Twitter about this and that. And I remember when she was a suitcase girl on a game show, all her whole role was just to be nubile, all right? Very feminist, wearing that cocktail dress in the afternoon, um, uh, so heavily made up. I mean, no objectification of women there. And remember, she called a suitcase girl, not a woman, when she was in her 20s. Very feminist, that, calling an adult the word for a child. So she wasn't trading on her looks or youth or anything, was she? Do you really think she would have got that job if she was hideous? And then she has the temerity to tell us to be authentic. Wow, that takes real chutzpah, or takes the biscuit if you're British. So how pretentious she is, obviously editing her Wikipedia page some years ago to say that she was like a charity worker or things like that. She's supposedly against bullying, except her own family, or and disinformation, except spreading poison about Prince Harry and not Prince Harry, sorry, Prince William and Kate Middleton. And okay, she speaks out against bullying, and that's laudable. Okay, bullying is obviously detestable. She denounces racism. Okay, I'm with her on this one. Racism is odious, and one of the things I wouldn't accuse her of is racialism. She's never been racist to anyone that I know of. I think even her worst enemy couldn't say she's guilty of racism, and there are reasoned criticisms to be made of her, such as I do, but some of the attacks on her have been racist bile, and in that she does deserve sympathy. So some of the causes she's speaking up for, I think, are laudable. How genuine she is about these things, I have my doubts. Then she said people shouldn't advertise on Facebook whilst it permits hate speech. Now, again, this is a contentious issue. Freedom of expression, what's hate speech, what's just free speech, what's acceptable. So I think as a member of the royal family, she shouldn't wade into that row. There are some issues which are seen as safe issues, such as saving black rhinos or whatever it is, leatherback turtles or things like that, are fairly uncontentious. But this one is not. Anyway, it's questionable what hate speech is. She claims to be deeply concerned for the penurious. She spent £65,000 on a dress. Wow. Even in a rich country like the United Kingdom, that's almost 5 times the annual minimum wage. 5 times. How far would that go in Botswana, a country that they purport to be deeply preoccupied with? You could have bought a dress for £65, not 65,000. Okay, I know you have to have a decent appearance. Buy one for 650. You want to save the planet? Recycle your things. Wear something more than once. Okay, and Kate Middleton, she spends an awful lot on clothes and as well. That's true. But the difference is Her Royal Highness Princess Kate. She's not always harping on about social justice, income inequality, save the planet. So that's why she doesn't get stick for doing these things. So I think that the Duchess of Sussex is tone deaf sometimes. I wish she could hear herself and realise how nauseating it is. And telling us to be authentic, which is so inauthentic herself. It's like almost like it's deliberate self-parody. So she has some controversial views, telling people to vote. Even that is a bit controversial. Some people are against voting, reject democracy, don't want to. Telling them not to vote would be equally controversial. You've always got to ask yourself, how would you feel if it was said the other way around? She, on the royal family's website, said she was a feminist. I think that was a bit of a no-no. The House of Windsor are allowed to go ahead. What if someone in the House of Windsor published, I am an anti-feminist? That'd be quite controversial. So, and the thing is, the royal family is there for everyone, including the racists. Everyone. It includes them. Okay? So the royal family, even saying racism is bad, I wonder if that's something they shouldn't even do, because it's a little bit controversial. There's a small minority of people, I know often ignorant or frankly evil people, who are put off by them. Anyway, and so telling people to vote in this US presidential election, we know who she favours. She was completely transparent about that 4 years ago. Fine, nobody would question her right to do that at the time. She was an American citizen, a private citizen, not part of the British royal family at the time. But there's absolutely no reason to suppose she's changed which side she's on. So this is a very thinly disguised pitch for the Biden campaign. And in a sense, I applaud that because Trump is just barbaric. But as a member of the House of Windsor, she shouldn't do that. So I know she's an American citizen. No one's saying it's against the law for her to do this, but it's just really unseemly for a British princess to speak out against this, even though she's not a British citizen. Anyway, if she were a private citizen, I think there would be no unacceptance of her weighing in on an election. So her antics irk some people so much. She's so wincingly woke that her discourse might even redound to Trump's favor. It's a boon for Trump, I suppose. She's just the kind of self-regarding, lovey Hollywood crybaby who really sickens a lot of middle America. So Prince Harry is little more than a ventriloquist dummy. These statements he comes out with, they're not his idiolect. That's really, Meghan's words in his mouth. Remember when he was authentic? Well, I say when he was genuine, when he was a drunkard, when he was snorting cocaine, when he was assaulting journalists. Admittedly, he was a wayward youth. Prince Hal had his misspent youth. He was troubled. His parents had the most public divorce of all time, and it was sordid. All these sort of sexually explicit messages that were hacked by newspapers, and the transcript published, and on, and the Diana Gate tapes, and all sorts of mudslinging within the family. It was vile. I mean, you'd hang your head in shame. It'd be difficult to show your face for public like that. So we've got to feel a bit sorry for him. Yes, materially he had everything a child could dream of, a multi-millionaire family. But the family situation was appalling. And then, he was 12 years old when his mother died in that car crash. So, yeah, I mean, you'd have to have some human sympathy for him. Your heart grows out to a 12-year-old boy expected to walk behind his mother's coffin at that age and manage to do it without blubbing. But so Meghan, I mean, I think she's got him wrapped around her little finger, and I'm not saying that's wrong. It's not bad to be domineering. Doesn't have to be complete equality in a relationship. Someone might want to be dominated, is happier to be led, and perhaps he's ductile, and in a sense he's more placid than he used to be. He's no longer so rage-filled or violent as he used to be. And he's furious against sections of the press corps over what he perceives as contributing to his mother's death. But as I've explained elsewhere, that's not the case. She died because of a drunk driver speeding and her own failure to wear a seatbelt. None of that is the fault of any journalist. Yeah, journalists were following their car in Paris that fateful night, the 31st of August, 1997. But her photo had been taken a million times before. One more photo wasn't going to make any difference. They didn't need to speed. Anyway, that's my penny's worth on the monumentally inauthentic Meghan Markle. So thank you for donations to the channel. Please keep them coming. I will mention your name on air if you like, but I'm assuming people want anonymity, so I'm not mentioning any names unless you explicitly request it. Toodle pip.